Watching the morning show from your local news leader.
Welcome back to the morning show. Now, every week we like to teach you a little something you might not know.
And to do that, we have Nadia Mason here from the U of I. All right, so Nadia, what are we learning about today?
Okay, so last week we talked about superconductors, which are these perfect conductors. And today we're going to talk more about electrical conductivity, about how materials lose energy to heat, and why your laptop is like a toaster oven.
Okay.
Okay, good. So before we talked about how materials have electrons in them, right? So they have electrons. These electrons move through and create electricity. But as they do that, they bump into things. I bumped into you last time. I'll bump into you today. That's my electron. Right? But I have a different demo here. This is a model. This is like a wire. These are little electrons. The electrons move through the wire. They bump into atoms. And as they bump into these atoms, they create heat. And so the material heats up. Okay? And so this is a bad conductor where the material heats up instead of conducting electricity. And different materials are just naturally different sorts of conductors. So this is steel. It's not a very good conductor. This is copper. It's a very good conductor. Right? And over here, we have an example of a very bad conductor. So what's it doing?
Oh.
It's glowing.
Yeah.
So
like it's hot.
It's hot, right? It's glowing orange. And so all of that electricity is just turning into heat instead of conducting and giving power.
Okay,
So it's a bad conductor where the electricity is turning into heat.
Okay.
And that's basically what a toaster oven is, right? So here we have a beautiful 1980s circa toaster oven. And in this we have bad conductors up here, just like this. And they're turning the electricity into heat and just heating up your toast, right? And that's the same reason why your laptop gets hot. Because in the laptop, there's billions of little tiny wires, and they're conducting electricity to do processing. But while they do that, they're also heating up. Right? And so they're basically toasting your lap a little bit because they're not perfect conductors, right?
Very interesting.
So one of the challenges of basic research is to find materials that are really good conductors that don't lose their energy to heat.
Okay.
Right? And so so we can do things to modify materials. Here's an example of a material that's a poor conductor. This is just a big resistor, and if it's warm, it's too resistive and you can't conduct electricity, but if I cool it down, I can close the circuit and it lights up.
Oh, wow.
And so this is something that when it's cold, you can modify the material to be a better conductor. And so our challenge, as like I said, is basic research, looking for materials. Room temperature superconductors would work, right? These don't lose energy to heat. Different weird sorts of electron interactions can work. So we're actively trying to look for materials that don't heat up and instead will conduct electricity perfectly, which is great, again, for energy savings and for not burning your lap.
Right.
I just wanted to say, though, that I talked to my kids about this morning, and I told them, the laptops are like toasters. They said, oh, that's amazing. We could have a dual laptop toaster. And so I told them, they could try to toast, marshmallows on their laptop while they process. And so, and so this is a combination of the mini dessert movement with the laptop. If we don't get better materials, this is where we may be at. So.
Have materials improved a lot over time already so far?
They have. And in fact, in laptops, the processing units used to be aluminum connectors. And aluminum is a pretty good conductor, but it's not as good as copper. So about 20 years ago, the semiconductor industry moved to copper wires in the laptops, which allowed them to put it on millions and millions more transistors and have more wires on there because it reduced the heat load. And so they're doing that all the time, but they're still trying to get better and better materials in the future to continue that trend toward more transistors, better processing, and less burny.
What makes copper a good conductor?
It's just the way the atoms are arranged in the material. So different materials have atoms arranged in different ways, and that affects the way the electrons bump into the atoms. So it really has to, this is an intrinsic property of these materials. But we can manipulate materials by getting them cold or by designing them, right, arranging the atoms or making layers of them to also make it so electrons don't interact as strongly with the atoms. So just like in the superconductors, the electrons did something different in there and they didn't interact in the same way. So we can have some materials that are intrinsic and then design our own to be better at it.
I just love having you here.
I know.
This is great. This is good stuff.
Great.
It's great.
All right, Nadia, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, we need some questions. You guys want to send Nadia and Matt's as well, your questions right here in the morning show. Just head to our Facebook page, post them, and hopefully we can get them here on the show. Thank you guys so much, Nadia. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
We'll be right back.